Nah, it's all volunteer. Cause I don't like having to, cause like I was in the military and I couldn't see a lot of things because I was part of the military.
Right.
So I don't want to be just my own.
So we start at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Check it out.
Yeah, we definitely check it out.
What?
This is a really great place.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't
I'm
do
gonna
it.
Get, what's your name again?
Thank you for making this place.
Manny,
just like to
everybody
say
at
that.
Manny.
You're welcome.
Before I totally bomb this, you know. Let me come back and try it, you know, 2 or 3, 4 times, and then it'll be awesome.
We're talking about going out, like, you can go here now.
Yeah.
But I'll do my best. I know my heart's in the right
We're gonna have
place.
we're gonna have
So I'll just do my best and I'll learn along the way.
we're gonna be doing arts and crafts.
Oh, there's Toby.
And we'll have art too.
We have to check this out. Someone's fun.
You want to go to it? Yeah? You think, yeah? I didn't
No,
put a
okay,
yeah.
that's too much.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's my Midwest coming in. Yeah. No, yeah. We can like make send people over there and see if you play thing here and do that this Sunday and then see if I can make that contact and then pull them over here.
Yeah.
See if I don't know. See if they like me. I'll be good.
Oh yeah, no. Everybody over there is awesome. Like,
I'll be good. Yeah.
How wasn't that to like? I just never like what? Not that long.
I think I'm totally interested in that. Especially women mariachi group. Like how cool is that? Ooh, awesome. Especially this kid over here, Toby over here. He's a guitar player.
Yeah.
He totally needs to be challenged. He needs to be challenged with that stuff. So yeah, that's perfect for him. Perfect. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah, let's
just do it.
let's get it on.
For a 10-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
If I can.
Okay.
But I was gonna get some more players for them actually.
Katie Paetz. Rhymes with paste. Doesn't rhyme with paste, but is like paste, but paste.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking around, coming out. This is our second weekly 5th Street Forum. My name is Nathaniel. This is Aside. Welcome. And we have a very special speaker tonight. This is Katie Paetz. She has a program that she started and is conducting here as well as elsewhere. It's called P.L.A.Y. Passionately Live as You. And I call that free music lessons. And it's a lot of fun. So that's every Sunday at 7 here at Aside. Come on out, check it out. And we offer a discount for people who are taking part in the meeting. So without further ado, I'll let Katie Paetz take the mic, and she's going to talk to you tonight about P.L.A.Y. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm Katie Paetz, and I thought I would just give you an overview, tell you a little bit about myself, how I came to this vision, what it really means, and what kind of the future looks at. So a little bit about myself. I'm a general music teacher. I teach music to kindergarten to 8th grade, and I've been doing that for about 6 years now. And the big thing about that is when I ever go to any kind of adult socialization activity and I tell them I'm a music teacher, I run into people that say, oh, I used to play music or I used to do this, and they always have a story about themselves, about how they used to be a musician. And I've kind of always astounded by that because every single young person that I meet in my daily job identifies themselves as a musician. And I'm kind of, this whole vision of play, passionately live as you through the fine arts, came out of this kind of disconnect that has happened between the adult life and the child life. And it just kind of started asking the question of what's happening between when you're a child and an adult that's making you think that you're not a musician. Let's say, so a little bit more about myself. I finished my master's this past year and in music education, and in doing that I learned a lot about the history of music education. And to give you a little bit of history on that, which kind of gave me a little bit more foresight into why people are getting these identities of I'm not a musician anymore when I'm an adult, as opposed to when I'm a child and I can do all these things, is part of the history of our culture in the United States. So going back, starting, this wasn't always the aspect of of music making being in the home, not a performance-based activity. Going back into the 1700s, singing schools actually really closely tied to religion were very common in the United States, and actually that was the venue and how music education became part of the schools was started in singing schools where people would learn how to sing, and they were mostly religious texts. But entire communities would be involved in music making. And then another thing that started happening with the start of the United States in America was that Americans would try to personify themselves as European high artists and create these orchestras. So then that's how orchestras became part of the school system. And then also bands are also uniquely American, and bands became part of the school system. So that is your three main school systems music making activities: choir, band, and orchestra. And for a very long time, that was the only ways that people were really, or that children were really allowed to make music in the school system. And even though maybe before then, or even sometimes during them, it was a community activity, and in other cultures, Hispanic cultures, music making is a community activity. In the schools, it was only part of these performance-based mediums. So music making very much became closely related to I practice, and then I put on a performance in front of everyone. And then I practice, it has to be perfect, and then I put on a performance. Before that, actually, in European culture and even other cultures, music is part of daily life. Schubert had things called the Schuberties, where they would roast, bratwurst or whatever they did, and they would make food, and then they would all make music around with fiddles and pianos and all of that, and it was very much part of the daily culture. But for some reason in our American culture, we've come to think of, we can only make music in these certain mediums. And for me, as a musician and as a person that makes music in my daily life, I found that there is a huge disconnect between the soul in music making and between your daily life. And after I started learning about more of the history and all of that, I found, instead of just saying, there's this disconnect and there's something wrong with it, let's do something about it. So that's where P.L.A.Y, Passionately Live As You Through the Arts, came about. Our vision and our goal is actually, I'll just read to you our kind of mission statement, is P.L.A.Y is in opposition to a perfectivist performance model of the arts that encourages non-performers to consume the arts rather than make them. So instead of thinking of to be able to make music, it has to be perfect, instead, I'm going to make music for me. And going back to the consumeristic model, actually have some statistics here. In 1877, the phonograph was created by Thomas Edison, a very famous person. And basically, after that point, music became a consumption-based model. You could finally listen to music without someone else having to make it, and that created this total disconnect of music becoming a people to people to a technology to people medium. And I mean, it's incredible that it's there, because it's a huge it makes a huge impact on our lives, but at the same time it creates this huge void in our lives too. Where there's a statistic that the UK did 8% of 14 to 17-year-olds do not own MP3s. 8%. That's it. Do not own MP3s. 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds do not own MP3 players. So, I mean, the vast majority of people are now consuming music, and that goes into our kind of American idea of, instead of as citizens, we're referred to as consumers. We're a consumeristic model. We're consuming music from now on. And I mean, whereas that's all well and good for a while, like there's a point in our lives where I feel to really invest in ourselves, we need to be active in what we're passionate about. And that's where P.L.A.Y stands, where we want to passionately live as yourself through the arts, but through an active engagement of the arts as opposed to consuming them. Consuming them is good because that educates us, that gives us a knowledge of what else is out there. And now with the internet, I mean, the genre melding is already happening. Genres are not as clear-cut as they used to be. There are so many other things that are coming into our models of what is considered music already. So our minds are already open to it. But in the reverse sense of what we can put out there that gives us life, is severely lacking. We're just only consuming all the time, and that's where P.L.A.Y stands. Where people that think that, oh, well, I have to be perfect to be able to play this instrument and get up and do this. No, that's not where we stand. We stand, basically, where we stand is that that you can enjoy music and the arts, the visual arts and movement, just purely for the enjoyment of it. We're a safe place to learn. And all individuals that show up, we respect. We basically, our model is to learn, teach, and play in the arts. We learn, we teach each other, and we play. We connect with that inner child in us that just wants to explore, that's free to explore, that doesn't care about what somebody else thinks about us because it's a safe place to be there. And that's where my strength is as a teacher, and as a learner. I am a very slow learner, and so I have an incredible amount of patience for people that it takes a while to learn something new. And also with teaching children on a daily basis, I understand that it takes a while to learn, and that struggle is an important part of it, and it's a free place to struggle and to try and to meet that opposition of, I can't do this now, but I'm going to work at it and I'm going to get there. And in the process of it, there are other people here that are to support me in the process of making music, and I can still have a really positive outcome and feel good about it, and feel like I have done something, or I've communicated with others, or I've participated in this world that we're in, and I'm valued for that because I took the risk to put myself remotely out there for others. And that's where P.L.A.Y stands. And when you ask yourself, well, why is this important? If I haven't given you enough reasons yet, why is this important for you to do? I mean, beyond the aspect of involving yourself in music and the arts and movement, because of, the effects that it has on the mind, and exercising your mind, and the effects that it has on the body and exercising your body. And more times than not, I can tell, even if I don't know exactly what went on, I know with students of mine, if they've gone off and they practiced and they come back and they give me that sigh of like, oh, I know that they have worked themselves, and there's some kind of joy and relief, and I've challenged myself today in that, and that's a gift in itself. But if that's not enough, it's a stress relief. If you don't want to, if you're getting really stressed out by life for some reason or another, you can take a break from it all, and you don't have to retreat into consuming something to get that stress relief, but you can make yourself active. And if exercise isn't what it is for you, then maybe participating in a music or an art medium is what is that stress relief for you. It gives you that strength and it's the stress. Also, it's fun. I wouldn't continue to do this and want to push to do this and do this in my off time when I'm not getting paid. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do this. And even if it, even if nobody loved to do this and Conspire didn't want to do this anymore, I would probably do this in my home and make meetups in my home. It's fun. It's fun to do. It's fun to learn about music stuff. I still, even in my off time, have fun learning new stuff and being able to say, oh, I can play that now and go back into my daily job, or just in my own time, just do it. It encourages socialization. I'm definitely a person that it's part of as an educator, it's part of my job to socialize, and I socialize with children more often than not, but it's part of my job to socialize with people. And this is one thing for me that helps get me out of my home and out of my comfort zone into socializing with other people. And it's a communication. Music and the arts is a communication tool that communicates not just by words, but by sound and by visuals and by meaning and by feeling. And it's another venue of communicating. And the last thing is it gets in touch with your inner child. There are some psychology researchers that have this theory where you have like these three selves. You have your adult self, your adolescent self, and your inner child self. And the adult self is the one that takes care of everything. The inner child self is the thing that gets in touch with your sexualization and those types of things. And then your inner child. And that's where a lot of your strength and who you were before you became an adolescent is. And a lot of times music and the arts is what connects with that. And you need to feed that part of yourself. And in feeding that part of yourself, you need to have these activities that support that. And so play is kind of a medium to bring about a better well-being for yourself. And that's where that comes from. So in talking about this, this all sounds like, oh, well, this is a really great idea. But what happens, so what does this look like? And basically right now what it looks like is it's me and a few other people, and I'm basically just creating the space for people to learn music, because music is my medium. But I don't just see this as play, passionately live as you through the arts as just a musical medium. I would love to see other people come in and say, hey, yeah, I want to teach about art. I want to teach about movement. I want to teach about this side of music or this side of music. The past couple of weeks, we've been doing free music meetups here at Conspire, where we've just basically been coming together and learning some stuff on the guitar and learning chords on the guitar and playing together. And my strength with all of this is being very closely connected to the learning process. I understand the learning process intimately from doing it in my daily job and also from learning it in myself. And I'm very patient in other people's processes. And but one thing that this whole project, this whole movement has given me is an idea of other people's perspectives on their learning processes. At every single meetup we've had, I've learned something new from someone else. At the last one, we were talking about music theory and half steps and whole steps, and this person, Ben, came, and he was an engineer, and he said, oh, I have this circle that shows the whole steps and half steps. And it gave me a new way to show what I understand from years ago of learning it into another way to be able to teach it. So that ties back into our vision of your learning, your teaching, and your playing. It's not this hierarchy model of this person's the teacher and then this person is the learner, but it's everybody is learning and teaching a collaborative environment together. That is the strength of this model. And I've seen that in my own life, and that's why I believe in it so strongly. So so the strength of play is really in the people that want to come and learn, that want to make it a safe place, and also people that want to come and teach, that think, I have something to give, because whenever you teach something, you learn it even better. And I know this from my daily life. And this is where my vision comes out into my daily life of I want to give that gift to others. If you know something and you're learning something and you can then turn around and teach it to someone else, that makes it that much stronger of a connection to yourself and to what you're doing, and it also gives you a connection into the world that we live in, and it gives you meaning into what we're doing. And that's why I believe in the power of the arts here in our world and in our community, and not as a performance-based model of we're going to go out and perform this and this is going to show me what all the power that I have, but to really show us this is the power that we have between each other. It doesn't have to be on stage. And that goes back also into, like maybe there is this person that really has this vision of I would love to be on stage. Well, there's a lot of steps that goes in between I don't know anything to I'm getting on stage. There's a lot of steps that goes in between that. And there's not a lot of people that really talk about bringing people through that process. And with the rise of the internet and YouTube and all of that, obviously these models of there's a teacher and there's a learner have been, those models of hierarchy have been, have been lessened, but nobody's really forthrightly talking about it. And that's where Play stands, is if you want to get up on stage and that's your goal, then you can come to us and you can say, hey, this is what I want to do. And the people in the community that are part of Play, that's what we'll be dedicated to. Let's get you on stage. What can you do to get from here to there? Here's a safe place. You can make the mistakes that you want to make here. You don't have to get up on stage. You can sit in your chair with all of us on the same level and play your song, and we will sit and listen to you, and you can make those mistakes that you need to make. It's kind of a family-based model where the child would play for the family before they would get up on stage. It's the same thing, but in the adult life. And so you can do that. And we can walk you through the process of this is where I want to be. Okay, this is the learning structure. This is how you learn chords. This is how you learn tabs. This is how you practice. Yeah, that's really hard. Yeah, your brain's tired. Take a rest. Come back to it. This is what we're doing. I'm very transparent in my learning, and I'm very transparent in my teaching and communicating those things with others. So that's really what we're all about. And then if you've gained some kinds of skills and you want to learn it, and let's say you're not an expert at it, but hey, I figured this out, let's teach this to someone else, then you're more than welcome to teach it to someone else during the process of learning. And that's where we stand. So and then in looking all this, like, okay, well, what happens when you have a community of people that are dedicated to the arts, that are to music or to fine art or to movement, and everybody's together and you have differing opinions? What happens? I think something should go like this, and I think something else should go, and someone else thinks something else should go like this. What do you do? So when you have a community, we already have kind of like a set idea of how you should manage that. And it's basically in the ethos of do no harm. And see other people's perspective. Before you speak out, try to see where the other person's coming from. Once you see that, do no harm. And after that, if there is a conflict, and conflicts do arise in this creative process, it's a creative process. It's not pretty. It's not perfect. It's a learning process, and it's part of our human existence. But just because it's part of our human existence and it's not pretty and it's a little bit ugly, it doesn't mean it has to be evil. It comes into the do no harm, and understand other people's perspective and use conflict resolution strategies and use discourse. You can disagree with someone respectfully without insulting them integrity wise. And that's where we stand. So you can come into and using I statements. I don't agree with that because of this. Take a deep breath. You don't have to be emotional about it, or you can be emotional, but you don't have to be abusive about it. So use I statements, and I disagree with this. This is my perspective on it. This is how I see it. And in that whole process of learning and teaching together, more people can gain understanding of other people's perspectives. And that's where it comes back to the passionately live as you. You are valued in our movement. You are valued as an individual. You are valued as a unique person that has a perspective. And it matters because you showed up. You showed up to this process to be here. And as long as you respect others in that process, you will be respected in it. And, well, and if you don't, I guess it won't be the place for you. But you're respected because you showed up. And as long as you respect others in that process, then that, and we learn by doing, and we show by doing. We're not just talk, but we practice this out in all of our in all of our endeavors that we do. So I guess let's see. Understanding the visions. So yeah, so I guess the end of it is like my vision for the future of it. Right now it's really just kind of in the music mode, but I would love to see other people step up and want to teach other things musically related, to come be involved, a part of the process of learning music and of making music with each other, also of making art and movement with each other, and that we're not in a box, and just like any human being is not in a box. This idea that interests and subjects exist, separately from each other, is not something that I believe in. I definitely believe in a gestalt matter of things, that everything influences everything else in yourself. And that's kind of how I see play too. Whereas, and that's one thing that also plays in opposition of the pillars of education, where English and math and music and art and social studies and PE are all separate. Whereas if you talk to a child, they're making connections all over the place. And if you think in your mind, you're making connections all over the place. And that's definitely with play too. You make connections across even art mediums. And so for play, the art mediums can exist simultaneously. And the strength of that is in the collaboration between different members. We encourage collaboration between you're a visual art person and here's a music person. Let's see how we can combine these two worlds, and so that we are very project based and we're individual based. We're not based around this idea of this is the genre of music that we do, or this is the instrument that we are looking to do. But it's the idea of the people that are involved, that are putting their spirit into what they care about, and their courage to collaborate with others and to put that out in the world. And we respect that as part of play, to passionately live as you. If you have enough courage to put yourself out there as an artist, as a musician, as a person in this world that can create something in a consumeristic based society, then we respect that. And we think that that is the blessing of it. That is the return reward. It's not the performance. If you want it to be the performance thing, and that's great, then that's like something that's added on to the whole aspect of it all. But the process and the journey is the reward in doing it. It's about living in the present and making that your reality and acknowledging yourself for the strength that you are already. And that's what Play, Passionately Live as You, the movement, is all about. And thank you, Nathaniel, for having me here and letting me just kind of speak about my vision and what we're doing here. And if you talk to Nathaniel, we have Sunday night free music lessons. Although this next week we're going to something else, so we'll be starting it next week again. And there's some other meetup groups, or there's some other events that are going on meetup.com, Play, Passionately Live as You, shameless plug, that we're all about. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out for our second weekly 5th Street Forum with Katie Paetz. One more time, give it up for her. Thank you. If you came late to the discussion, Katie talked about what she's doing. It's called Play, Passionately Live as You, and we do free music lessons here every Sunday. And there's going to be a special event next Sunday. She's going to take Play on a field trip to another event, but I will still be here if you're interested in learning something about music. I may have something to share, and we can at least have an amazing conversation about music. I'd love to have that. If you're unable to attend the field trip, I like to call it. If I can, does anybody have any questions for Katie? Just open it up. Or... No? All right. So, I have a question.
Okay.
So, thank you again for coming out. But why did you start playing? Like, when did you start it?
That's a good question. Let's see. I started Play. I started Play probably about 7 or 8 months ago, and it was when I saw this. I saw a huge need in the inner city, actually, for fine art education, and I saw this big need with inner city youth actually needing to be involved in something. I actually had a guitar student that flat out just told me, Miss Paetz, this is the reason why you saved my life. I play guitar, and I was into drugs and drinking and everything else before, and now I play guitar.
What grade?
He was a 7th grader. He was a 7th grader, and he said that, and I flat out looked at him and said, like, you're my success story. You're my success story. I'll remember you forever. But that was where I really saw like how basically fine arts education in our schools wasn't doing enough for our society, and if without the arts and without fine art education and making it a part of your daily life, you would I really truly believe that people will resort to harmful things in their lives. If you're not being active, then you're going to be inactive in harmful things. And so I saw it as a positive alternative. And that's really where it started. And then it just kind of slowly morphed into this whole movement.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I really agree that music is an outlet. Creativity is an outlet. One that can be incredibly productive and life-changing and extremely positive. That's part of what guides what we do here at Aside is positivity and creativity.
Exactly.
So when we met, that was really exciting. Totally in line. I really liked what you said about the connections kind of blending together. It's almost like synesthesia, which apparently a lot of musicians experience. So see all the whole color, all the colors of the rainbow, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Through music.
Yeah. There's so much that we don't that scientifically we don't know about the emotive power of the fine arts, but I think we innately know as humans. And I'm just here to just shine a spotlight on that. Like even if and also just with technology and everything like that, I think there's huge opportunities for advances in that field. But the issue is that programs like this need to be there to foster those advances to happen. So even if we don't know what we're doing, eventually we will.
It's a very human connection that can't be found in the internet.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the few times that you've done play here, we've had quite a turnout both times, right?
Yeah.
It's only been 2 times. Third time, well, even the very first time, this
it was
Saturday
with us.
morning,
Yeah.
right? We had a great time.
It was great.
Where do you see P.L.A.Y. in 5 years?
Gosh, in 5 years, I would see it. To be honest, I would hopefully see it as a community music center, where like all of the excuses and obstacles that lie between a person making the decision to become a fine artist, become a musician, and to not be removed, and so therefore like only their excuses are in the way. So like whether it's instrument or time, well, time is not something we can deal with, but instruments or resources or learning opportunities or teachers, like just making that all solely available in a tightly knit community that can make the fine arts just a living possibility for any person that walks into the doors, and have it be like a community music center, like you talked about. That would be that, and bringing different, even in a peacemaking model of bringing different cultures together that normally wouldn't come together, come around a music making ideal, making it a peacemaking center too. Like, so it's a twofold thing that I would love to see happen.
It's really beautiful. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. Thank you for coming out again.
Thank you.
And maybe we can
For this opportunity.
promote the next time you're up here, because I'd love to have you back and we can have another talk with Katie Paetz.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming out. If you have amazing ideas or projects that you'd like to share through this forum, just connect with me. I'm here every day. asidevenue@gmail.com. You can email us. You can call us 602-795-2922. How can we get in touch with Katie?
You can email me at kpaetz. That's again kpaetz83@gmail.
Nice. And I'm sure that you accept donations.
Oh yes, we accept donations in instruments and money and time and teaching and amazingness.
There you have it. Thank you again for coming out, and be sure to join us next week for next week's 5th Street Forum. We have a few people that we're expecting to talk, and I can tell you more about that personally at 101. Monday night, I'll just go through the calendar a little bit. Monday nights we have a theater guild. If you're interested in being a part of the theater that we have going on here, actors, techs, writers, the whole gamut, connect with me about that. Mondays at 7 right here at Aside. Tuesdays, of course, starting at 7 or later, we have the 5th Street Forum. And thank you again for coming out for that. Wednesdays we have open mic. It's a historic open mic. It's originally from the Willow House, and it made its way here, and we continue to host that every Wednesday starting at 8. There's a lot of poetry, there's live music, a lot of fun. Thursdays we don't have a whole lot slated just yet, but we're talking a lot about comedy and karaoke, so there's that. Fridays and Saturdays we have live music, free shows often. And Sundays, again, we have P.L.A.Y. starting at 7. Free music lessons with Katie Paetz. Thanks again for coming. Have a great night.
Thank you.
This was a good practice.
Yes, it was.